Hey, welcome to my side of the internet. It's Tara Jones-Williamson, and I am watering my 40 plus plants in this video. Some of them, well, I have 40 plus plants, but some of them are getting watered today. And so I just wanted to take a moment as I give you a glimpse into my life and how I water them every 2 weeks ish. I want to give you some tips and pointers on how I handle all of my house plants, my easy care routines, and my tips and tricks. So, a little bit of background about me. I started taking care of houseplants during the pandemic. Before then, I didn't have any houseplants at all. Like, I never really truly had a desire to care for houseplants. And in 2020, I started seeing houseplant content. And so I'm like, oh, that's pretty. Let me try my hand at it. And so someone in my one of my local Facebook groups posted that they wanted to give away, I think it was like a snake plant and a peace lily. So it was like two plants and they wanted somebody to rescue them. And so I got them for free. And I was looking on YouTube, figuring out how to take care of them. And when I tell you, I fell in love. From then, the rabbit hole of collecting houseplants began, right? So, that was back in again 2020. It's 2023 now, and I've had several plants in and out because I have friends who come over, family come over, and they see my plants thriving and they want to try to take care of some. So they ask for some, right? And so I give them away. I get them, I give them, I get them, I give them. And some house plants, they don't thrive indoors. And so they only last for maybe a month or a couple of months or a year. And so they end up dying off. And I'm perfectly okay with that. And so if you are just starting off with plant care or you want some indoor house plants and some of them die, who cares, girl? Like, they die, they come back. Listen, I just feed them to the soil. I got a forest in my backyard. I just feed them to the earth where they came, right? That's all I think about it. I don't get up in arms and saying I'm a bad plant mom, or I'm unable to take care of plants, or I have a black thumb, so I'm going to give up. Nope. It is trial and error like anything else. And so, if you want to get into managing plants and having a house full of plants, just know some may die on your journey of perfecting it, right? And so I'm just going to have this, candid sit down conversation to talk to you about my plant care journey and what I do. Again, I don't make it super extra for, let's say, for lighting. Let's start with lighting, because all plants need lighting, they need fertilizer, they need soil, they need love and positive affirmations. I believe in having positive energy around anything that's living and growing. And they need water, right? And so with lighting, let's start with lighting first. I have my plants in one room. I really don't have my whole house decorated with plants like you'll see on Instagram or on Pinterest or YouTube or whatever. My husband and kids are like, yeah, no, we ain't doing all that, right? And so the upstairs living room, we have a living room and we have a family room downstairs. That is where we congregate, is the family room. The living room is kind of like my sanctuary, my safe haven, where I, really go in with the home decor and with some of my unique pieces and different and artwork. Like, that's my curated space. And so that's where I decided to keep my plants. And so my windows are big. We have an open floor plan between the kitchen, living room, and dining room. And so in the living room, kitchen, and dining room area is where I keep my plants, upstairs main area. And so we have huge east facing windows and a couple of west facing windows. Okay. So my plants get a lot of east facing light, which means the light that comes up in the morning, that's the least harshest and the least hot. And then it stays pretty sunny to shady throughout the day, depending on where the plants are located. And so I created spots and zones in my house, and I'll put them in my shorts. And as you like look through my channel and my videos, you'll start to see different areas and vignettes I have my plants. I chose which plants I'm going to put where based on their light requirements. For example, this fiddle leaf fig is a moderate light, and so is this Hoya that you see on the screen in the little basket. Those do not like super bright light. When I had them in a super bright light, they got sunburned, right? And so the Hoya actually is hanging on my wall in between two of my east facing windows, and so it gets a lot of indirect light. The fiddle leaf fig that you see, it is a dwarf fiddle leaf fig, but it's getting nice and bushy. I love that plant. It sits on a table where it gets a lot of natural light, but it's not in direct sunlight, if that makes sense. I have other plants like my Schefflera, who loves to be up by the window. My umbrella plant, oh my goodness, she's huge. She loves to be right by the slider, directly dead center in sunlight. Like, she loves it. And so does some of my snake plants. They love being right smack dab in the middle. I also have a peperomia that loves to be right in the window. But then there's things I like to be set apart to where they get filtered or indirect sunlight throughout the day. So that's what I kind of do when it comes to lighting. There is not one plant that I own that gets no light. That is a misnomer and kind of like false information going around the internet right now to say like, oh, snake plants don't need any light or ZZ plants don't need any light. Yeah, if you want them to die in a month or two, yeah, don't give them any light, right? Give them some water and don't give them any light, and watch them not be able to utilize the water, start getting root rot, start failing. They won't be thriving. Plants need sunlight. It is what it is, right? And so if you see that there's a plant, if you see like something that says online, oh, this plant doesn't need any light, do not listen to that. They might need medium to low light, or they might need medium light, but there's no plant that needs zero light, right? That's not a thing unless you want your plants to fail, like I said. So I do not put my plants in my bathroom. Both of my bathrooms in my home has no window to the outside. It's just only the light switch and the fluorescent lighting. I do not have any plants in there. I do not try to put a snake plant or something weird in there that can tolerate harsher temperatures and harsher climates. I'm not doing that, right? And so if you want to succeed at managing houseplants, definitely give your plants sunlight. The next thing is water. Water is very important. So plants, at least for me, I'm going to say, at least for me, my plants are on two different schedules, right? So I have my non-snake plants and then my snake plants. I have quite a few snake plants. I have like 10. Some are really tiny and some are big, right? My snake plants are the only plants in my ZZ. Okay, snake plants and ZZ plants are on one schedule. Everything else is on a different schedule. Whether it's my bromeliad, whether it's my fiddle leaf fig, it's my Chinese evergreen, it's my pothos, it's my philodendrons. They all get watered at the same time. And then my ZZ plants and my snake plants get water at a different time. Now with my ZZ plants and snake plants, I water them once a month, the first of the month. That's how I remember it. They have adapted to understand that they are getting water once a month. They thrive. It's not too much, it's not too little for them. And I had to learn that, right? And I had to also acclimate them into a way and get the lighting right to where they utilize the water that is given to them, right? So I'm not putting them in an extremely low light situation to where they're not absorbing and utilizing that water to photosynthesize and to grow because they're in extremely low light, right? I put them into moderate, indirect, or direct sunlight, right? And then they thrive with the amount of water that they get. A lot of my other plants get way more light than my snake plants and my ZZ plant. And so those get even more water. I water those every 2 weeks, like clockwork. Nothing more, nothing less. All of my plants are in terracotta pots, every single one. I love the look of terracotta pots, so I'm not changing it at all, right? So I love the look of terracotta pots. And with that, whenever I water, my plants do dry out fairly quickly. However, they have once again adapted to being watered every 2 weeks. And so they will adapt to their environment. Even if they like, quote unquote, if you see online that they like to be watered every week or every few days, or they like their soil likes to stay moist, eventually they will adapt to their environment. And so my plants have adapted to know every 2 weeks they're going to get watered, right? And when I water them, I use the Plant Food by Miracle Grow. It's this granular water soluble plant food fertilizer that I put in a gallon of water, and then I just dip my watering can in there and put it in and water it during the summer. On the screen, you're seeing me do like a deep water. This is not like a normal watering where I bring them all to the counter and into the sink. This is me cleaning off the leaves, deeply watering them, flushing out their soil. But that's not what I do every time I water. Every time I water, typically every 2 weeks, I get a big bucket out, put some fertilizer granules in there, put some water in there, let it dissolve, and I dip my watering can in there and I water my plants where they are. And then I let the little dish under it fill up so that where they're sitting in water, and then I stop watering because the water in the dish will absorb. It will make sure that the water is just not running straight through, and some water is actually absorbing for a longer period of time to where they really get nice and moist and wet. So that's that about watering. Now, about soil. The soil that I use is a mix between regular potting soil and cactus soil. I typically like the Black Gold brand, but I also will use Miracle Grow. I will use the Happy Frog as well brand. And I will mix those together. Whatever I do, I always mix regular potting soil from one of those brands with some cactus soil. And so cactus soil is a lot more looser, but it's too loose for a lot of these plants, and the water will run straight through and they won't have any moisture retention. And so that's why I like to mix it to where I have a moderate water retention type soil. And by me using the terracotta pots, they dry out at a decent amount of time. The soil is holding on to a little bit more moisture. So they got a balance between drying out well and being able to not being able to withstand root rot, but also not being thirsty all the time where I have a bunch of brown leaves, right, and brown tips. So that is what I do for that. Again, I am not a stickler for soil. I know that some people say, oh, Miracle Grow has bugs, or it has what do you call those, fungus gnats, things like that. To each their own. I've used Miracle Grow before and they haven't had any issues. I've also bought plants straight from the nursery and used the soil, and they have fungus gnats in the soil, and so I dump it out outside and then refresh with my soil. I mean, I put sticky traps, these yellow sticky traps that you can find on Amazon. I can link it in the description box below, that I put in all of my plants to where if a fungus gnat finds its way into my home, it's going to be attracted to the sticky trap on one of these 40 plus plants, and then they're gone, right? So I don't really have an issue with fungus gnats flying around, with fungus gnat issues, with pest issues. I have not had a pest issue yet. Knock on wood, praise the Lord. Like, I haven't had an issue other than a little bit of fungus gnat, especially around Christmas time whenever I get those poinsettias. Whenever I get poinsettias from the local nursery or even a store, they always are overwatered, sitting in a ton of water, and so fungus gnats love those. And so every winter I'm always finding myself getting a few fungus gnats from the poinsettias, but I can't stop buying them because that is just a tradition in my home during the holiday season. My mom growing up always bought red poinsettias and put them in different places in the house. And so I just continue that tradition. So, sometimes I run into a bug issue, but it's not very often. Now, again, when it comes to pests, I do keep what is called the Captain Jack's dead bug spray around, just because I've seen on social media and online and on YouTube how well that is for things like thrips and spider mites. And, watching other people's videos when I first started out, I kind of assumed that maybe I would get an infestation of bugs on my plants, but I have yet to do so. And, I don't do anything spectacular every 3 months. So winter, spring, summer, fall, I bring them to the sink just like I'm doing now. I spray them leaves down above the leaf and behind the leaf. I look at them, I inspect them, and then I let them drain. I deep water them, let them drain, and then I put them back. And I really don't have an issue with pests. I really never had an issue with pests. I really don't have to spray anything on them. I am a clean person, so my house is clean. My house is dust free for real, for the most part. I have a lot of open space in my house. And so I don't know, maybe if you have more carpeted area, or if you have a stuffier home, or don't have great air circulation, you might experience more pests, but I absolutely do not. And so the only advice as far as pests that I can give you is keep some Captain Jack's spray on hand, the dead bug spray. And you can find that online on Amazon. I got it in the store at my local Horrocks, but you can get it from Walmart or Target or whatever the case is. They all have the spray. So I talked about watering, I talked about light, I talked about soil. Oh, let's talk about just the energy you have around plants. So plants are living, in my opinion. Well, it ain't my opinion, it's science. Plants are living, right? They grow. You see them grow. You see them produce new leaves and things like that. I am just a firm believer in speaking positively to yourself, to your spouse, to your children, to everybody who dwells in your home, whether you have a dog or a cat, a fish, a bird, and plants. Like, it's not nothing woo-woo. It's just like, just be a good person, right? Just be a positive person. Be positive to be around, right? If you constantly speak negative to your children, you can't expect good outcomes, right? If you constantly speak negative to yourself, you can't have a positive outcome, right? You can't do something positive with a negative mind, right? And so I'm just a firm believer that my plants are spoken to negatively or positively. So when I see one kind of struggling or need my attention, I have a table, like a coffee table in my living room area, where I highlight that plant and I show it off. And the reason why I do that is to kind of show myself and the plant that you don't have to be perfect to be useful, to be considered beautiful. And so even if I get green leaves or, yellow leaves or brown tips, or some are a little bit bald compared to the others that are more bushy, I still love the plant. I still find beauty in the plant. I can still adore the plant. And so I give that plant more attention, more time, more love, more energy, more positive affirmation, speaking to it, telling it to grow, telling it, I know you're going to rebound from this. I don't know why you're dropping your leaves. I don't know why you're not, handling the season change well, but you got this, right? Just like with us, there's sometimes different seasons is more rough than the others, but we got this, right? There's some transitions in our lives where a parent dies or a child dies, or, we don't do as well, or we lose a job, or money is tight. And we want to kind of give up, or we want to kind of think of ourselves as useless or count ourselves out. But God can still use us, right? God still finds the beauty in us. The people who love us still find usefulness in us. Our children still love us, right? Our children still find usefulness in us. And so that's how I manage my plants. just because they're failing or they don't look like an Instagram worthy plant or whatever the case is, does not mean it's ugly or is unusable or unuseful or it can't be a part of my plant collection. I absolutely love my plants back to life. I actually had a really rare aglaonema that when I brought it home, it dropped all of its leaves. It was super bushy and big, and it dropped all of its leaves, right? And all of my family members would speak to it, say positive affirmations to it, and now it has thoroughly rebounded. It has been showing out over the last 2 years and rebounded, is loving it here now. And it was like that. It never failed, like it never dropped any leaves, like you could not tell. So, there's something to be said about being positive to your plants and being positive to yourself. All right, so thank you so much for watching this video. We are coming to the end of this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions about plant care, about indoor house plants, which ones you like. You can also give me the timestamp and say, hey, what's the name of this plant? What's the name of that plant? How do you take care of it? I would love to give you more details in the comment section. I will be putting out more content about my plants and how I take care of them in short form as well. So make sure you visit all of my shorts and my TikTok and my Instagram and all that good stuff so you can see a little bit more about my plant care journey and which ones I end up bringing in, which ones I'm giving away, and all of that good stuff. Thank you again for watching and joining. You have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.